Well, last week the Federal Reserve came out and took blame for the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank. Thank you very much. Then fast forward a couple days, Janet Yellen is issuing warnings that the government is in risk of defaulting unless we can increase the debt ceiling. And if, why not? The Federal Reserve on Wednesday decided to raise interest rates again for the 10th straight time to its highest level in 16 years. You think we got a couple things to talk about on this week's Friday chat? Stay tuned. So many of you are probably wondering why Joe looks like he should be walking through the woods with an axe in his hand, ready to chop wood with my red flannel on. I wanted to wear this red flannel today as a symbol of a happier time when the Fed wasn't ruining everything for me and I was, in Vermont skiing, sitting by a fireplace. But in all seriousness, I kind of say that in jest because as crazy as things seem, it really isn't that impactful. I have a couple charts which I'm going to show you, which kind of lead us to get there. But let's start with the first thing, how the Fed is taking blame for Silicon Valley Bank collapse and saying that they, failed to act and see warning signs and step in sooner and understand what was going on and have proper monitoring. Duh. But also, too, you could really blame the Federal Reserve's interest rate policy, because there's an old saying that the Fed raises interest rates until it breaks something, which we've spoken about before during our Silicon Valley Bank collapse video. And the thought process is that the Fed keeps raising interest rates to help fight inflation until something really bad happens, and then they need to stop and reverse course, which is essentially what the Fed did by artificially keeping rates low from the great financial crisis of 2008 to about 2022, when we had transitory inflation and all other crazy things. But what we're really talking about is the interest rate increased really led to the Silicon Valley Bank collapse because of their longer-term debt, their 30-year treasuries and such. When interest rates go up, bond prices go down. So when we've had 10 interest rate increases, their bond prices decreased. We went over this before, so it's just kind of funny that they kind of come out and take blame for it. That doesn't really do any good for all the employees and people at Silicon Valley Bank. But anyway, that's where we are. Then fast forward to the debt ceiling, which I don't want to spend too much time on because we know it's a bunch of noise. And they will come to an agreement like they always do by June 1st. But it's just another thing to kind of give us out there. And then, the interest rate environment of where we are. The Fed decided to raise interest rates again to its highest level in 16 years, the 10th straight increase. Now, they have hinted that they are going to take a pause for a while. We'll see what happens. Inflation is still not great. It's still not terribly exciting that it's coming down. Yes, it is getting better, but it's nowhere near their target rate of 2.1%. So we kind of have that to kind of go over. I'm in review, but really that's just kind of what it is. What I mentioned before is that you see all these things in the market going on, and you'll see a couple of charts popping up now, which kind of go over the history of the market and great major events, whether it's world wars, whether it's, interest rate rises, whether it's the financial crisis, whether it's .com busts, whether it's, interest rates being risen now for the past, 10 times in a row, highest level in 16 years, whether it's the flash crash, whether it's, the financial banking crisis of 2008, the Vietnam War. You can just keep going through it. And the one thing that it comes back to is the S&P 500 just goes up. So you have all these things, which at the time are huge issues. They are problems, but the market is resilient and it will go up. The one thing is time. We have to make sure that we have enough time. So you have to make sure when you're investing properly. Investing is really no more complicated than understanding the time frame you have before you need the money. If you need the money within a year to 2 years, all of the money, then you do not invest aggressively. If you have a plan 5, 10, 15, 20 years before you're going to need to liquidate all of the money, then you can take risks in the market and understand what that risk is, what your risk level is, have the appropriate allocations. So yeah, these charts are here to kind of remind us of things have happened in the past. Crazy things keep happening. Well, thanks for joining us for another weekly Friday chat. Hope you have a great weekend. Remember, Fridays, pizza. See ya.